Gwonk Reef Keeping is sponsored by Ed's Wallet. Greetings and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ed, and today we're going to take a look at how I light this tank. Again, thanks for joining me for this little session. Now today I wanted to just explain a little bit of how I try to keep all of the organisms in the tank healthy by means of providing adequate light to them. Now, one thing we want to keep in mind is the fact that it's not simply a matter of the amount of light that you provide to the organisms, the corals, and if you have anemones or other, even the fish for that matter, other organisms. It's not just a matter of the amount of light, but also the quality of the light that's provided for them by means of specific spectrums that most benefit the animals. Now, me dealing with the specifics of the hardware, I have over this tank a fixture made by Viparspectra. It's the 300 watt version. For reef tanks, they generally come in two versions, a 165 watt version and a 300 version. And again, I have the 300 watt version, which is a longer version. It's roughly about 3 feet long, and in addition to that, I am supplementing that with 5 par 38 ABI tuna blue bulbs. Now these bulbs, they're what I kind of call dollar store Kessels, so to speak. They're supposed to produce a tuna blue spectrum, and being par 38, if I do not drop this in the tank, come on, almost there. It's a par 38 bulb that just screws into a standard lighting outlet. Provides a spectrum that I'd probably describe as more in the cyan. It's not a deep royal blue type of light that produces the intense fluorescence in corals, but rather a middle ground between a deeper blue and a true daylight spectrum. Now, if I can get this back in here quickly. And there we go. Now, what I did was, again, MacGyvered up my own electrical setup for these using PVC pipes and extension cord wire in order to run them in parallel along here. I also have a couple of them running in the back. Now, I've never par tested them, but they do provide a little bit of oomph to the available par. If I can remember right from the last time I par tested it, it provides at least an additional 50 to 60 par to the overall lighting. And just on their own, I think they produce rather nice spectrum. In fact, let me see if I can turn off the viparspectra. Simplest way is just to unplug it. And there, I think that's a completely unplug it. There, I think it provides a nice look to the tank. This is probably, if I just eyeballed it, definitely less than 100 par, but all the same, it is a pleasing look. Now, viparspectras come back on. I come down off the ladder before I hurt myself. Now, this has been my setup for actually at least a couple years now, at least with these supplemental par 38 lights. I've only been running the viparspectra for about a year. Prior to that, I had the garden variety Chinese black box lights, which kept the corals alive, but didn't provide the level of coloration that I wanted. And once I switched to the viparspectra, I definitely saw an improvement in the coral coloration. And in fact, I am planning probably within the next few days to change the lighting system over, whereby I will be removing the supplemental par 38 lights, adding a second 300 watt viparspectra light, as well as another 160 watt viparspectra. The plan is to shift this light down a little, push it to the back, add another one, which should provide a complete blanket of coverage from front to back, and then a 165 watt over here, which should again provide a complete blanket of coverage. And I'm more than satisfied with the spectrum of the viparspectra light. In fact, I know BRS within the last, I think, year or so did some testing on black box lights, and by far the viparspectra was considered to be the best. It had a spectral output pretty much on par with the given standard, the ATI Blue Plus bulb, in terms of the beneficial spectrum in the 450 and lower range. So, and I definitely have seen the results of it in the coloration of my corals. The Garf Bonsai definitely took on a deeper coloration once I switched to the viparspectra, as well as the tricolor Velita in the back. Now, that was just a brief view of how I light this tank. Probably once I get the new lights set up, I'll provide a video showing how I have that set up. I'll have to reconfigure the canopy a little bit in order to accommodate the hanging, the proper hanging for the lights. But as always, if you stay with me this far, I really appreciate it. And as always, if you would consider giving a like, hitting the notification bell so that you'll be made aware of when I produce new videos. And if you haven't already, please, please, please hit that subscribe button. Again, my name is Ed. Thanks for watching, and take care.